and welcome to the Phoenix Suns Solar Panel Podcast. Very Christmassy episode. Appreciate you guys joining us. As always, Mr. Dave King.
Hey there.
Good job looking at the camera. And of course, Greg Esposito.
Ahoy, hoy, ho, 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 ho.
So,
Oh my God, he tried to do the Christmas version of it.
And,
Nice.
and I'm wearing a Santa outfit, the other half that you can't see here.
Oh, we don't want to see that other half.
Where's your Christmas glasses? I expected tinsel and lights too, Tim. I mean, you're the glasses guy here.
I know. I really underdid it. You know, actually, Espo, I think that you would make a great Santa.
Give me another 5 years. The beard's starting to go gray, but once it goes all gray, I'll try to be jolly and fat and pretend to be Santa.
No, I
right?
mean just like putting on the beard that goes around your head.
I'm not going to do that to the kids. It needs to be all natural, so they can't tell that it's fake.
I got you. So the long-anticipated return, Deandre Ayton, and what a return it was. I mean, we saw so many jump shots and a sprained ankle all in his glorious debut.
Seriously, are you going to really rip on this guy for getting 18 points, 12 boards, 3 assists, and
And a block.
hit a block? We're really going to crap on the kid. But, I get it. It's his fault that he missed 25 games. He did a disservice to his teammate. So we went through that. I mean, I went nuclear when it happened, but that for a comeback
Thank you for
stat
saying
line,
nuclear properly. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. What was the standard? And I joked about this on Twitter that he had to get 40 and 20, and people still would have been pissed off.
No, the standard was that you need to be ferocious. Is what the theme I was taking. You can't just now. Here, look. Let me talk. Let me take a second to talk about the good and the bad. So Deandre Ayton, absolutely, his mid-range game of just taking almost all of his. He takes more in his career. He takes more shots from the mid-range than the restricted area and the three-point line combined, because he doesn't take any threes, but also he should be taking more than half of his shots inside the restricted area, inside the paint, than he does from mid-range. So absolutely the dude settles too much, for sure. He needs to get stronger going toward the basket. Where I draw the line is when people go, but he needs to dunk with authority and he needs to yell and scream and have the emotion. He's just not that guy. Sure, we would love to have a dude like that, but he's just not that guy. LaMarcus Aldridge is an example of a dude who's fairly quiet, but he turned out to be one heck of a NBA player because he did all the things right. But he was a mid-range guy who got rebounds and all that.
I'll see
not
you, LaMarcus.
Everybody is ferocious.
I'll see you, LaMarcus Aldridge, and raise you a Tim Duncan. Ferocious is not a word anybody ever would have used to speak about Tim Duncan and the way he played basketball.
The key is the basketball, not the ferocity. So yes, he absolutely has to get rid of his mid-range shots, but please stop trying to change him into a different person that isn't the guy you absolutely have to have. Ferocity doesn't win games either.
Yeah, well, did he take too many? Did he take too many jump shots? Probably,
yes.
But he also made a lot of them, and it's going to take time for him to acclimate to the offense. Give it a game or two before you jump down his throat because of it. Now you want to talk about?
I did see a little bit of math where somebody said he's not a great mid-range shooter. He's below average. So on those jumpers, he is a little bit below average, and all he would have to do is average 29% from three to have more points per game.
Yeah, and I think that's where the evolution of his game needs to go. Is he needs to take 2 or 3 steps back and then take that shot.
Or take 2 or 3 steps in and get into the paint and make it a better shot. Because in the paint, it's a better shot. Outside the arc, it's a better shot.
Mm-hmm. Ayton, no free throws. Let me read you a quote by Zach
one
Lowe.
free throw.
One free throw. He didn't make it, though. Quote by Zach Lowe, he's going to be one of those centers who's 7'1" and giant and shoots 2 free throws per game because all he wants to do is shoot mid-range jumpers.
Well, that's what we're talking about. That's exactly it. But that He's gonna be one of those. Now, this is assuming that a guy who just turned 21 years old is not going to change under the proper guidance. He is catching the ball that far out, so that part of that's the offense and giving him the opportunity to catch it there. Do you see Aaron Baines catching the ball at that point? No. Do you see Dario Saric catching the ball at that point? No. Do you see Frank? Sometimes, and we hate it. So I think it's about where he catches it and what he's supposed to do with it, and the coach is helping him make better decisions, because when he sees a dude between him and the basket that's as big as him, and when he sees that dude backing off of him, he's going to take the open shot. So he needs to be taught what to do at the right time. But he also had bad games like that where he just kind of had a short circuit in the brain and just took a bunch of jumpers. And then the next game or the next few games, he would be more attack oriented. It's up to the coaching and him to make him a better, more effective player. But we're talking about one of the most efficient big men as a rookie in the history of the game. So all of our criticism should be taken in that light.
Well, and I think he's going to get to the line more when he starts getting in a rhythm with the pick and roll game with Ricky Rubio, because he's going to attack the rim for those lobs, and I think that's where you'll find he's going to pick up those fouls against the opponents and get to the line. So I'd like to see at least 5 games, in a row of him playing before we try to cast this horrible judgment on everything's awful about Deandre Ayton's game. There's certainly things he needs to work on, and they're judging him on the Luka curve, and that's just not. He's never going to win. And James Jones said basically that you have to accept the guy that you have at some point on an interview on Arizona Sports in reference to Ayton, and I think that's where we are. You have to accept he's not Luka Doncic, and that's okay. Let him be DeAndre Ayton and figure out what his game is long term and grow in it. Like he's still in basically year 1. He's just starting year 2 because of the suspension on the floor. So I mean, that's the reality.
Some of that the comments that James Jones made, you got to accept he is who he is. It's interesting because your first take as an Ayton supporter is, wow, James Jones doesn't believe in him. Well, that's not true. He wants people to appreciate what DeAndre Ayton is already, and then as he improves, appreciate those improvements, like we've done with other players, like Devin Booker and people like that. The problem with DeAndre Ayton is he's got to start from the top, and everything he does brings him down. So I thought that was interesting. James Jones trying to reset the landscape.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it was interesting reading a bunch of quotes by a bunch of people, and a gentleman we're actually going to hear about his opinion twice in this episode, which is a little bit strange. But Bill Simmons, he said, and I quote, "I would be shopping him right now." And when I first saw that, I thought, that is dumb. To Greg's point earlier, one of the most efficient centers as a rookie in the game. Maybe David said that actually.
Yeah. Greg doesn't look up stats.
But then, I thought about it, and it's interesting. Should the Suns consider shopping Ayton at this point? Probably get a lot back for him.
It
For
depends
Karl
on
Anthony Towns, yes.
It depends on what store you're shopping in. If you're at Walmart, no. If you're at Nordstrom's, yeah, let's talk. If you're going to get a star,
Marcus, man, not Nordstrom's.
yeah, fine. Neiman Marcus, I don't care. Barney's, wherever you want to go.
Barney's.
Tiffany's. You want to shop expensive? Let's shop expensive. Is my point. If you're going to get a star back and potentially a Karl Anthony Towns, then yeah, you have that discussion. If you're selling him for parts and draft picks, hell no, you don't have that discussion right now, because that could go horribly sideways. If the only way you move DeAndre Ayton is if you're going to get somebody in return that has already met the potential you think he has or exceeded where you think that potential will be. Otherwise, you do not deal him just to deal him. That would be asinine at best and reckless at worst.
I have a reader yesterday who, a Twitter person yesterday who tweeted at me I won't make him look bad by using his name, so I'll just say it in an anonymous way. He suggested that Frank Kaminsky has proved himself as a backup center, and that Baines and Kaminsky should be full-time centers, and Ayton should get Saric's backup minutes going forward at power forward. This is how people feel irrationally about this young man.
How many people have fallen off some kind of motorized vehicle and hit their heads on the pavement recently? Like, what the hell is wrong with people? I don't get it, man. I get that we're in at a decade basically of struggling through bad basketball, but really that's where we're at. That we've lost all sense of of common sense for that matter. Like this is ridiculous. Like you only move Deandre Ayton if you can get somebody like a Karl Anthony Towns. Now I look at this and I won't lie. You look at the Suns' overall picture, and since they've fallen back from the beginning of the season, you wonder, is this a team destined to be okay but not good enough to really be in any discussion? Have they put themselves in potentially a salary cap jam where they're gonna just be and not be able to make that leap? I don't know. And if that's the case, you got to start looking at, are there creative ways to bring in better talent? But you're not going to give away DeAndre Ayton just to move on from a guy who, to Dave's point again, had a historic rookie season, and then has played 2 games this season and played both of them pretty well in terms of what he put up in the stat line.
I think from Suns fans' perspective, is that when you get a number 1 overall pick, and it's not DeAndre Ayton's fault, but when you get a number 1 overall pick, you expect him to be a franchise-changing player. Sometimes you get that, and sometimes you don't. But I think that's where, apart from the Luka Doncic, it sure doesn't help that. But I think that's where a lot of the expectations came from. Is the Suns got the number 1 pick, they got a really good player, but at this point, so far, he doesn't seem to be a franchise-altering player.
Look, he's not Anthony Bennett. He's not Michael Olowokandi. Like, people are treating him as if he's in that category, and really it's the Luka curve. If Luka Doncic wasn't playing the way he was, DeAndre Ayton would look like a extremely special player, and nobody would be pounding their heads into the desk saying, "Oh, I can't believe they didn't get Marvin Bagley Jr. or Trae Young." You would be looking at it and going, "Oh, they got a special player," but because he's not as special potentially as another guy, that's what's causing all this angst. It's Suns fans falling into the trap of, woe is us, we can't get nice things. Well, guess what? DeAndre Ayton's a nice thing. He just may not be as nice as the other guy, and you have to accept that happens sometimes.
Would you, at this point, this season, rather have Bam Adebayo?
Yes.
Out of Miami?
Of course. But that doesn't mean I'd rather have him going forward for the next 10 years. But you know what? Even if I did, Tim, that doesn't make DeAndre Ayton a bad pick. It just makes Bam Adebayo, oh my God, where did he come from? Yeah, why can only one person in every argument be a good player?
Well, could you... you look at it, and I go back to, and I'm not saying DeAndre Ayton will be Hakeem, but you go back to that draft where Houston takes Hakeem 1, Sam Bowie goes 2, Jordan goes 3. Okay, yeah, Michael Jordan undeniably is the best player out of that draft, and you get why Portland fans would be pissed off being at number 2 and getting Bowie. But Houston fans, I don't know. I'm not old enough to remember exactly what their reaction was, but I can't imagine they wound up all that pissed off that they wound up with Hakeem in that draft at number 1. The scrutiny and the way things are, I think, has as much to do about the fact that the Suns haven't been in the playoffs in a decade, have gone 52 years without a championship. I think it has as much to do with the mentality of the fan base as it does the player himself.
Right. And when you get the number one overall pick, your expectations for that player are he becomes somebody that can bring you to the playoffs.
But
Well,
yes,
here's the deal. Now that the number one overall pick has been taken, how about we just focus on the fucking player
Well,
now?
and guess what? LeBron didn't bring the Cavs to the playoffs his first year. Like, we're basing this on 1 year and a dumb, ridiculous suspension that the guy cost himself. I get it. You're angry with him. I get it. He's not Luka, but move on. Accept that you've got a good player, and you can. That doesn't mean you can't critique his game. I just get past this whole "woe is me" crap with it.
Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton than Marvin Bagley?
Yes.
Yeah. Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton than Trae Young? I would.
Yep, Jaren Jackson.
No, I would not.
I would. Jaren Jackson has been exactly in the pros as he was supposed to be.
No.
As
Talk
he
about
came out.
Talk about Trae Young. I'd rather have Trae than DeAndre.
I wouldn't.
You would?
Yeah.
Trae Young is like, he just now lost the worst defensive player in the league position just after the last game to Bradley Beal. But he looks fun because he takes 30.
He is a very, very, very talented offensive
team is
player.
6-21.
And the Hawks still suck.
I mean, were you guys yelling at me because I'd rather have Trae Young? Sorry, I have an opinion.
You're allowed to have an opinion.
Well, he's a damn good player, so it's not, even if you don't agree, it's not like, oh my God, Tim, what is your problem? No, he's a damn good player, and I would rather have Trae Young at this point. Also talking about the modern landscape of the NBA, I do not need a 7-foot center who the only thing he'll do is take mid-range jumpers. I'm sorry, it's great he makes them, but that's not valuable. You can get that out of a damn guard.
So he has he led the all rookies in win shares. So valuable is a little bit in the eye of the beholder. It's not as fun to watch. And I'd also like to say that shit, I lost my train of thought. Yeah. So it's this modern NBA thing. How many nights has Frank Kaminsky and Dario Saric been dwarfed by the other team's much bigger center? Almost every night. That's why the Suns are not winning games when Aaron Baines is out, is because there's nobody that the Suns actually have who can fight against the other league centers. So this whole modern NBA thing, I think, is becoming outdated because since the Golden State Warriors fell from grace, the modern NBA actually has big, huge centers in the middle again.
Well, I'm not talking about size. I mean, you can get, Zubac over with the Clippers. As far as
now you'd rather have Zubac than
no.
DeAndre?
That's not what I'm saying.
I heard him say. Yeah, Zubac, who averages 4 points a game. Got it.
Can I finish my point, or are you going to interrupt me while I'm talking? So I would rather have all I'm saying is that you can have a big, capable center there, and that the point guard is going to be more valuable than having a giant center who really can't play that good a defense and only shoots mid-range jump shots. I'm not saying Ayton's not good. I'm just saying at this point, that's why I would rather have a Trae Young, because that position is more valuable because you can go get a big dude to play backup center somewhere.
I love that the North Pole is missing an angry elf today. This is fun. I'm glad Tim's bringing it. By the way, Stephen Davis it says, I like cheese. However, I love Dave King. I'm going to assume I'm cheese. And congratulations, Dave. Somebody loves you. So.
I do like
somebody
DeAndre
does. That's awesome.
It's not. I'm not just sitting here hating on DeAndre Ayton. I think he's very good. I think he's going to be a very good player.
You'd rather have.
I would rather have Trae Young. No, I would not rather
look,
have Zubac.
okay, that's acceptable, and especially if you look at if we're basing it on right now and what they've done, I understand that. I'm not hating on you for that. I get that, but nobody's saying they'd rather have Marvin Bagley Jr., right? Nobody's standing up and pounding that table. I mean, it's worse to be Kings fans out of that draft right now. If you look at that, there's plenty.
Even Marvin Bagley's going to be really good. That was a great top 5. I mean, really, Marvin Bagley is going to be very good in this league. He also missed about 20 games due to, and I think it was a knee. Jaren Jackson, if he figures out how not to foul and how to be more consistent offensively, he's going to be very good. Trae Young, obviously, Luka Doncic, DeAndre Ayton.
I'd rather have
after that
than Jaren Jackson too.
Would you?
Yeah.
Wow, so you'd rather have Ivica Zubats than Ayton or
Jesus Christ,
Jackson?
that wasn't my point.
But
Everyone write this down.
but everybody,
I would not rather have Zubac. I'm just saying that you can go get a center somewhere easier than you can go get a young point guard
But
that can actually play.
your point, I go back to you talk about, expecting your number one pick to be able to get you in the playoffs, be the guy that's the difference maker. If you look at this draft so far, it's one guy that has proven that he can be that so far. It's just one, and so I think.
But only one was a number one overall pick.
Oh no, I agree, and there comes scrutiny with that simply because you're number one, and then you add in the factor.
Number one overall pick.
What was that?
Not Ayton's fault.
No, it's not.
I'm going to blame him for the rest of his career.
But that's just the way this unfortunately works. It's not also his fault that the organization has been completely inept for a decade and then couldn't win a title for 52 years. Like that's not his fault either. But it's something that he's saddled with because we all have a broken mentality because of all of that. Like that. There's a reason, and I've said this before on the show, there's a reason that they're called fans and that we're all called fans. It's short for fanatical, and there's not always logic in people that are fanatical about something, and that's where part of this problem comes in. There's
Would you rather have Ayton or Markelle Fultz? Because guards are better than centers.
Well, Fultz can't shoot.
I'm not
Tim's
saying that
point
guards
is
are better than center.
Would you rather have Ayton or Lonzo
talking
Ball?
about positional scarcity is the concept. Of
yeah. Would you rather have Ayton or Lonzo Ball? You don't want to do this, do you?
I mean, are you going to go through every damn player? Like,
would you rather have Ish Smith or DeAndre Ayton?
Right. I would rather have DeAndre Ayton than Ish Smith.
Well, he went 9 for 9 and 4 for 4 last night from 3. Are you sure? I'm kidding.
Yeah.
All right.
And I like DeAndre Ayton, and the Suns are better with DeAndre Ayton, and it was really exciting to have him back.
Would you rather have DeAndre Ayton or Josh Jackson?
Well, Jesus Christ, that's a toss up.
It depends.
Marquise Chris or Dragan Bender?
Look, it depends on the Josh Jackson question. Are we partying or playing basketball? Because I think I'd rather
have DeAndre Ayton or Ty Jerome.
DeAndre Ayton or Ty Jerome. I'd rather have just about anybody than Ty Jerome at this point. But
God damn, does he look bad?
Oh man,
Tim, I can mute Dave if we need to. I have that power.
So do we are we at the point of agreement where the Suns' biggest need is some sort of a backup combo guard / backup point guard?
You know what the Suns really need is freaking Tyler Johnson from last year. That would be nice, at least to start with.
No, you know what the Suns
need?
Not
this year's Tyler Johnson, last year's Tyler Johnson.
Play with the same damn effort you played with in the first 11 games. That would help a hell of a lot too. It's not
really went off after Friday night's loss.
Like it does not look like the same team in a lot of ways. It's just you're not seeing the same effort on both ends of the court. You're not. Something has shifted with this group, and I get it. Injuries, the suspension, all of it impacts it. But that first 11 games, you saw something special, and we've yet to see it really since. And that's the troubling factor.
There's self-doubt after a punch to the gut.
You know what they need? Damn win.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. They need a win so that they believe in themselves when they go out there on the court, because there is something to be said about when you step out on the court to play a game of basketball and you truly believe that you can, or you truly believe that you cannot win that game.
Well, right. and when they stepped on the court earlier in the season against the 76ers, who at the time were on a long win streak, that was a confident team that believed they could beat anybody, and they took the punches from the Sixers and then came back and kicked down the door. That's the mentality that this team needs to get back to. They need that Devin Booker back, and I get it. He's been injured. It'll take a little time for him to get back in the rhythm. They just need to get back to buying into Monty's system and playing with that confidence. Now, I've said it before on the show. I am perfectly fine with this being a 35-win team. And I'm going to get killed for saying it because everybody increased their expectations significantly after the start. But this team is that much better than they were. And as long as they don't regress back to the 19-win type of team that we saw, and they play with heart and they win, in the mid-30s, this is a successful season.
Well, that's the play with heart part. If they stop believing in themselves, it's really hard for us to keep believing.
Agreed. Like they have to play like a team that wants to win, and I can accept losing close games like they have, and not being able to close it out in the final seconds, because that's something as a group you learn along the way. But if it starts,
but not 37 points in 2 losses.
Mm-hmm, yeah, if it starts to look like you've basically thrown up your hands and we're back to square one, that's when it's a problem. And I agree, Tim. You've got a hole at that backup point guard / combo guard that you need to answer. I still believe you have a hole at power forward in the long run that you have to answer. And I think Sarge is a better backup than he is a starter in the long run. But is now the time
I actually
to go
like
all in.
Sarge a lot better than a lot of people do. I think he does a lot of the right things. He just can't be a difference maker. He's a glue guy, not a difference maker.
Yeah, I like Sarge too.
I agree, but you look at this, and I think you need, if you're going to truly compete in the long run, one more star, right? If you're saying Booker is a star and you're hoping Ayton is a star, you need to add one more in the mix, right? And
Absolutely.
No,
I think so.
If you need to add another star, if Ayton isn't.
Well, then I think you need to hedge your bet and try to add another star just in case, because I don't know when.
No.
I don't know when he
Ayton
becomes
is a star. You need a third. You do need somebody better. If Ayton's
well, we're talking about star, right? So if Ayton is to be a star, and you have Booker, who I think we all agree is, that if you look at the landscape of the NBA, that 2 is enough at this point.
I suppose it has to be the definition of a star.
Right.
Is the question. If he's
star,
like MJ, 2 MJs is enough, yes.
I think it has to be all-star caliber. It can be that borderline, maybe not always an all-star, but a guy that could make a push for an all-star game is the kind of guy you need.
Why isn't it Oubre with how he's been playing this season?
I don't know why, and I can't put my finger on it, but I do not fully believe in Kelly Oubre Jr. And I get hate for this every time I bring this up, but there is something about Kelly Oubre Jr. that I just do not buy into. I do not trust. I don't know if it's the mental lapses that you get from time to time with him. There's just something about him that does not say to me he's the kind of guy that can be your stable third, quote unquote star. If
I agree. He's got to be that wild card. He's the wild card that helps you win games, but he's not the guy who's going to be the consistent leader in every single game, every minute he's on the court, as far as what you expect of him. He's got a little bit of unpredictability.
If he's your irrational confidence guy, he's the guy that brings the energy. Love it. I think that's a perfect spot. If he's the guy you're banking on for consistent production and to be your quote unquote third star, I think you're in trouble. I think you're a team that is always going to be on that border of being maybe a playoff team and maybe not. And if your long-term goal is for more than that, I think you have to look at that and address it eventually.
So I got a question for you, Greg. If you had to guess, what do you think Dario Saric's basic counting stats are for the last 12 games or so?
15 points, 8 rebounds, 3.5 assists.
No, not quite, but you're closer than you thought. Might have thought anyway. 13.8 points, 9.2 rebounds.
No. He is closer than you might have thought. I bet Greg thought he was going to be right on.
I always do. I'm the irrational confidence guy in the show. I bring the energy. I'm not the star. I'm just the irrational confidence.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's a pretty good starting power forward, I guess, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with Sharch. So you guys want to move this on to the NBA's proposal to teams for an in-tournament mid-season
In
tournament?
season mid. Yeah.
Yes,
Go ahead.
I just butchered that, but yes.
Sure.
Also,
Let's.
I actually do have a question. Is the video going out for everybody that's watching on YouTube right now? Because it keeps going in and out for me. So I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
So
on my end, it appears to be working. So
coming from Shams, the NBA has sent proposals to the NBA teams for the 2021-2022 changes. A couple of them include, so it would go down to a 78-game regular season, hallelujah, an in-season tournament. And this is a part that I find really interesting. It's something that Simmons has been pushing for a while. So it's an in-season tournament, $1 million per player, $1.5 million coaches pool for the champion players, play-in tournament for the 7th and 8th seed, which is, if you are a Suns fan, this sounds, I think, really great. Final four reseed and playoffs based on the regular season record. The in-season tournament format proposal, all 30 teams involved from late November to mid-December. Divisional games, 4 at home, 4 away for group stage, 6 divisional stage winners plus 2 wild cards for knockout, and quarterfinals at home market, semifinals, and finals at a neutral site. What do you guys think about this?
okay, look. First off, I think the 7th and 8th seed play-in tournament is concerning for me as a Suns fan because this is supposed to be 2021, 2022 is when this goes into effect. So I could see the Suns finally breaking into that top 8 in the West and then getting bounced in a play-in tournament and not making the playoffs. So I'm very scared by this proposal at this exact moment for that factor.
Just give us that 4-game sweep.
Yeah. Otherwise, I actually look at it and I think this is a unique way. It takes elements of soccer, it takes elements of the NCAA tournament, and it integrates it into the NBA. And I will give Adam Silver and previous Commissioner David Stern and the league as a whole a round of applause for always being willing to try things and to push the game in different directions to try to make it more entertaining and interesting for the fans, right? And that's not something a lot of sports will do. I mean, baseball moves at a glacier's pace to make any changes, to appease their fan base and try to make things interesting. The NBA moves at warp speed right now to do that. And will it all work? I don't know. Maybe not. But if even elements of it work that they keep around for the long haul, I'm for it. And this is in part, I believe it's the 75th anniversary of the start of the league, that they're going to do this as part of a celebration season. So who knows? Maybe it works, or all of it works, and it's great. Maybe only elements of it work, but I applaud them for trying it. And I think that the mid-season tournament is very interesting because we always say, well, the NBA season doesn't start till Christmas. Well, now there's an element of it that will at least make it interesting from the end of November into that Christmas time. It's going to force some interesting things to all of this. So I'm fine with it.
Well, it's interesting because the 78-game regular season, that's obviously 4 less games than the current regular season. This play-in tournament, so there is this all 30 teams involved. A divisional game is 4 home, 4 away for the group stage. Well, there you go. There's 8 of the 78 games that'll be part of this in-season tournament. Then, though, there is divisional stage winners and 2 wild cards for the knockout rounds. Well, that sounds like extra games to me for just those 8 teams, right? Correct. So 8 out of 30 teams will play extra games. And that is 8-4 to 2-1. That's that, or 8-4 to 2, and then the finals. So that's an extra 3 games right there. So the better teams right there will play 81 games before even this play-in for the playoff seeds for some. So, and then you've got the play-in tournament at the end. So actually, teams that are on the 6-10 bubble could end up playing 82, 83 games before the season starts.
But 2 things happen here, right?
I mean, the playoffs starts.
Two things happen here, right? It gives the best teams a little bit of a break before going into the playoffs, which some would argue might not be a good thing. But I think you get additional rest there if you've won in the top half of the league. It also, in most cases, I think addresses the tanking issue now because there's going to be more teams that can get into that play-in tournament, can have a shot at being in that back half of the playoffs. And if you're actively tanking, that will upset your fan base even more because you had a shot to get in. And I think that's part of this is they've addressed that or noticed that tanking was a major issue. They changed the odds in the draft lottery, and then this adds a little bit more motivation to actually play harder towards the end, so you can get in the play-in tournament for that 7th or 8th seed as well. So.
But only if you're. I think it's only for the 9th and 10th seed kind of play teams, right? So if you're 15th in the West, there's going to be no incentive for that play-in tournament.
Well, but you're going to likely, I mean, if you're the worst of the worst, and then of course, I mean, but if you're on that bubble going into December, January, rather than shutting down your entire, your like 3/5 of your starting lineup, I don't know whoever would do that ever, but
Ever.
Like you're not going to do that if you're right on that cusp where you can maybe fight your way into that and have a chance because your fan base will revolt on you at that point.
I find it interesting that they don't mention that there's any connection between the early season, in-season tournament and any kind of advantage for the team other than a few bucks in their pocket. So you just play that tournament, you play your, but it doesn't get you anywhere in the regular season standings. Does it? I mean, you've got your 4 home and 4 away group stage that count toward the regular season for sure, but that knockout stages, the final 8, basically, does that get you anything?
I don't know. I haven't heard that it does. I know to mention.
So
Bill
I feel like
Simmons
it's going to be like Summer League, where all of a sudden you rest your guys. You give your guys an in-season week off because then you have your young guys play that tournament. I hate that about Summer League because all the best players don't play in the playoffs.
I mean, you very well could wind up having that if you don't incentivize winning it. I don't know if. I don't know. I don't know what you could add in there unless.
Well, there should be some incentive for playing in it. All the 8 teams, that make it to the knockout stage.
Well, that's where the money comes in.
Is it? I thought that only went to the winner. Does that go to all of them?
No, it is $1 million per player to the winning team.
Yeah, but is that enough to motivate the top of the top in the league? Like,
is it also enough to motivate the team that's clearly 6th to 8th best out of the 8 teams? I mean, you've got to think about load management as a coach and GM. You got to think about rest if you're a player, nursing injuries. I mean, if there's no advantage to that final 8 knockout stage in the regular season, then I do think this will end up being a load management issue.
What if it gives a tiebreaker advantage?
Right. So that's what I'm looking for is some kind of people hate that in Major League Baseball that the winner of the All-Star game gets a home field advantage in the World Series, that kind of thing. That's tough, but even if it just counts toward extra regular season games where those teams have more regular season win opportunities, maybe that works to keep them playing. I don't know. There's got to be some connection where that's not just a standalone throwaway tournament like the All-Star game is.
Simmons suggested having these count as like having an extra column in the standings where these count as, you have your regular season wins and losses, then these wins would count as like some kind of points, and then you have your ultimate total of what you had to determine seeding. I think something like that makes sense because then you could wind up having an advantage over, say the second place team in your conference or the first place team in your conference exits early, you could wind up stacking up some additional points or wins against them to make up ground in a playoff chase. I think that certainly would keep teams motivated. I don't think the money is gonna do it for certain guys. I mean, lower half of the roster guys, that $1 million is a big deal. The LeBron James of the world, they're not gonna care about an extra $1 million in their pocket. That means nothing. Hey, Go ahead.
Maybe. I mean, think about if the million means nothing, why do they all demand absolute max contracts?
Because
right?
it's an
Like
ego thing.
why did the Rockets lose James Harden for a couple of million? I mean, I do think it matters to an extent. I don't
To an
go as
extent.
far as to say that it doesn't mean any. I mean, $1 million is $1 million, right?
No, I get that, but the max thing is an ego thing too. That's
Yeah.
not about getting that extra few million. It's about saying, I'm a max player in the NBA. I deserve the top. It's more about that pride thing. Zach in the chat said,
and this million, you got to play more for it. Like when you're arguing contracts over a couple million, you're playing the same regardless. You just might as well make 15 instead of 13 or whatever it is. But in this, you have to actually work your ass off to get this million, and only 1/8 of you was going to get it.
Yeah. In the chat,
or there's an award, right?
Yeah, who cares about a mid-season trophy? That's like getting a participation trophy in kids soccer. Who gives a crap? Win it if you want a trophy. Otherwise,
Ooh, it could be like minor league baseball, where the winner of the tournament actually gets a guaranteed playoff spot.
I think that's what it should be, right?
Yeah.
The winner of the tournament, though, in theory, would likely be getting a playoff spot anyway. I do like the idea of a mid-season tournament, but I wouldn't do all 30. I would do the bottom 15.
What? Yeah, that could be.
The bottom 15? No, then people wouldn't tune in because you want to see the stars.
Yeah, I think if it was for a guaranteed playoff spot for the 8th seed or something along those lines, I think it'd be interesting.
So Zach in the chat says, I think embracing change is good, but will this help viewership? Baseball moves at a glacier's pace because it's timeless. It's traditional, makes viewers loyal. I disagree with the second
actually,
half of that.
baseball has terrible viewership.
In the local markets, it has strong, but nationally, it's terrible viewership. I think embracing change will help viewership because especially in that play-in tournament where you get that March Madness, a one-and-done kind of mindset with something major on the line. Yeah, I think that will improve viewership in the long run. But even this idea of viewership is going to drastically change over the next 3 to 5 years. The media landscape's different. I mean, to the NBA, and I can tell you, having worked in the league, it's just as valuable to get people watching your highlights on social media to them as it is to get people watching full games. They take a more global look at this because it's about building and nurturing fans on any channel that they're looking at. And the traditional ratings is not going to be the end-all, be-all in the future here. You're going to see this all shift dramatically in the way it is. And eventually, I think more of this is going to be about subscription-based, getting more people buying a league pass or buying subscriptions. Then you're going to be relying on the ESPNs of the world and the Foxes of the world to pay you millions of dollars to air games. So I think we're just in a weird media landscape. Viewership isn't going to be the end-all, be-all like it is right now. I hope that answers your question, Zach.
So, kind of coming up on time, I want to make sure that we get to the main part of our segment of the show, which is Christmas presents for the Suns players. So if we had to give Christmas presents to each one of the Suns players, what would they be? So let's go ahead and let's start at the bottom, actually. We'll start with you, Greg. If you had to give Jared Harper, if you could give Jared Harper any Christmas present, what would it be?
I would give him a nice condo in Prescott Valley because that's where he's going to spend most of his time.
Dave?
Wow. Oh, we're going to do, each of us going to give a Christmas present to each player. Okay. I would give, and I hate this because Jared Harper can't do anything about it, but I would give him about 4 more inches in height. I think he's a hell of a player. He's so good. But he doesn't have a bunch of lift on finishing in the paint and all that, and so he's got to rely on speed and shiftiness, kind of like an Ish Smith type. And he could end up with a career like that, but he's more likely to end up with a career like Tyler Ulis, where he's just not big enough to make it in the league. So I'd give him a little bit more size.
Don't be talking about Ish Smith. I'd rather have him than Deandre Ayton at this point. Let's start off with you, Dave. Ty Jerome.
What about you, Tim? Are you going to take some turns?
No, I don't think so. We're coming up on time.
The angry elf has no presence for anyone. All right, Cole for all.
Ty Jerome, I give a little bit. Let's see. I give Ty Jerome a little bit more speed. The guy played and the slowest offense by design. It wasn't his choice; it was his coach's choice at University of Virginia. And when he's in the game, the Suns do seem like they're not running at any kind of pace. The Suns have been 10th in pace this year, but it seemed like the last few games when Ty Jerome has gotten his chances, they're just not running at any kind of pace. So I would give him a little bit more pep in his step is what I would give him.
It's very true. The pace of the Suns significantly drops when he's running point.
Yeah,
I would give Ty Jerome, DeLorean, and Doc Brown so he could go back to September, avoid the injury, and actually get to participate in everything in training camp and preseason and the regular season. So beginning of the regular season. So by now he could have things figured out and wouldn't look as bad as he has. So.
Greg, Javon Carter.
Javon Carter.
He doesn't need a better fan base.
No, yeah, he doesn't. He doesn't need a more supportive mother. She's got his back too. I think I need offense, so I would get out of him. So I'd give him any semblance of an offensive game would probably help with Javon Carter.
If I could give him any kind of present, and I'm going with the physical gifts, apparently in a theme here instead of literal gifts you could hand somebody, I would give him some hops. The guy doesn't seem to have doesn't have the hops to get his shot off against anybody who's defending him straight up. So he's jumping to the side. He's again kind of trying to right now doing the Tyler Ulis type thing where he jumps madly to the side and almost falls down to get a shot off. So I would give him some more hops.
Elliot Kobo, Dave.
Elliot Kobo, I would give him a dose of aggression. So the guy looks like he's just chilling. He looks like every day I watch him. I like watching him play too.
I want him to get more minutes.
Wearing linen pants and linen shorts and sitting on a beach is what he does all the time.
So he's French, is what you're saying.
He's not. Yeah. Eating a croissant and having an espresso with Boris Diaw. So I would give him a little bit. I would give him a little bit more aggression because otherwise, I think he's just going to end up getting lost, and he doesn't make enough of an impact in the few minutes he does get.
I'd give him a fresh start somewhere else because I think that's the only way he's going to really have a chance to have a long-term impact. This team was ready.
But then we get to have Suns fans saying, "Look, he got 8 points and 5 assists the other night. The Suns really screwed up by letting him go."
Look,
I think they would be, man. I like Ellie. I think he's our best backup point guard for sure.
This is a guy that this front office wanted to move on from and didn't, simply because of the guaranteed money. It wasn't because of anything with his skill. So I don't think the dude's going to get a fair shake here, and that's why I would give him a fresh start somewhere else so he could have the opportunity to really make a long.
I don't know if it's about a fair shake. You make it sound like it's a conspiracy not to play a better player. I think
it's not a conspiracy.
I think they don't think that Elliot Kobo is the best backup right now, but Monty is really struggling to find somebody who will be a good, consistent backup, and Ellie hasn't separated himself.
Yeah, no, I don't.
I mean, I guess if you're saying that in Monty's eyes, you're probably right. I personally, I think he has, though.
I just don't see the results. I don't see the Suns actually gaining any ground when the second unit is in with Ellie running it.
See, and I want him to go to a place where the lead SB Nation blogger believes in him. So that's why I'm suggesting a fresh start.
Well, Greg, don't send him to California then.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything. Greg, Shaq Diallo.
Yeah. Minutes. I'd give the guy more minutes because I'd like to actually see if what we saw earlier in the year was real or if it was kind of a mirage. I'd like to check him out. So
check him out. I would give him more time too. I'm not really sure why he's not getting enough time. I think it's probably because He's a center by playing style, and he's only 6'8", so he has a hard time playing any consistent minutes. But then
this
again,
is positionless basketball, Dave. It doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I am not as big of a fan of that whole concept of modern basketball. I think it's outdated. I don't think you can get by with Cheick Diallo as your center for a lot of minutes. But you know what? I am probably wrong, because I also didn't think you can get by with Richaun Holmes as a starting center either, and the Kings are proving that to be not the case.
Dave, Tyler Johnson.
God dang, I would give him his basketball back, his basketball abilities back. I don't know what happened to the guy. Now he's not even playing, so I don't even know what the Suns coaches and front office, all that, what they've talked about with Tyler. But they're playing 3-guard lineups right now with Ellie and Javon Carter and Ty Jerome out there in the second units, and they're getting just blasted. And Tyler Johnson's just sitting over there on the side.
Sneaking suspicion based off of absolutely nothing. They do not want to injure their trade chip.
I wouldn't be shocked if that's the case. I would give him a great investment banker, because he's never going to make this kind of money ever again in his life. So you better figure out how to invest that at what he earned over the last 4 or 5 years, because this next contract isn't going to be all that great for Tyler Johnson.
Well, it would be. I'd take his next contract.
Oh, I would take a G League contract right now. I'm not going to scoff at any money. I just meant from him.
That poor guy's going to be stuck with only $8 or $10 million a year.
Greg, for Tyler Johnson's next contract, if that was awarded to me and I had to give you daily hand jobs, I'd do it.
Oh God.
God! And I would not allow you to get that new contract. I'm going to go throw up now. Now we have a dirty, angry elf on our hands.
All right.
Holy crap!
The point is well made.
Greg, Mikal Bridges.
That was a stiff point to make, Tim.
Can I give myself one of those Men in Black mind eraser things? I'd like to erase the last 2 minutes of the show from my memory.
Tim going hard.
Oh God! Can we please stop, Dave? Please. So I'm on Mikal Bridges. Is that where we are? I would give. I don't even know at this point. Oh God, I would give Mikal Bridges his 3-point shot back. That's what I got for you.
Do we need to take an intermission?
We need a in-season tournament right now.
Because Greg can't even focus.
Now I need some load. Well, wait, we can't talk about load management after that. I got nothing. I got nothing. Oh my God!
Stop being so cheesy, Greg. All right.
Okay, I love you, Dave.
Okay. Yeah, sorry about that. Sometimes you just get the laughs. Mikal Bridges. God damn, what happened to that guy? He's good sometimes, and then defensively he's really, really good. Offensively, it looks like he has no clue. And he is our new. Why did he inherit the Josh Jackson try to posterize gene? Why did Josh hand that off to him as like a little golden ticket when he got traded? Because now it's Mikal trying to do those posterizing dunks. He's missing every single one of them.
What I don't understand is how is he missing them? Because his arms are longer than anybody else. Like
he doesn't know how long his arms are. So yeah, I think I would give Mikal Bridges the ability to dunk the ball. That'd be my
a player that I think we don't talk about nearly enough. Cam Johnson, Dave.
Cam Johnson, God, I would just give him a couple more ounces of athletic ability. He looks a little stiff out there, but otherwise, I just love that kid. I think he's going to have a really good career, and he'll be a role player. He'll be basically maybe a better James Jones in his career, maybe a kind of a Kyle Korver type, where he's got a 15-year career making threes at a 40% clip, and every championship contender wants him. That's the career I think he's going to have. If you want him to be a starter and a star throughout his career, then a couple more ounces of athleticism.
I would give him a hip that actually is 100% in the clear and healthy and never had surgery, because I think that's the only thing that could derail this kid's ability to be an elite 3-point shooter in this game for a while. And it'd be a shame to see, because we got the opportunity earlier in the year to see how much this guy can shoot, and I'd like to see that in this lineup for a long time. And I'm concerned that the injury, that the hip may not allow that.
Dude, he's shooting 41% from three. He started off the season slow, but he's the first team all rookie for sure.
I love it that I'm starting to see when he catches the ball off of on the weak side, two different defenders running at him if he's not fully guarded at the moment. The ball's coming toward him. I love that he's starting to make defenses panic.
Mm-hmm. Greg, Frank Kaminsky, and if you don't say something about him making a goddamn layup, I'm going to banish you from the rest of this.
I would give him the ability to make a goddamn layup.
Yep. I mean, it's fair.
The angry elf demanded, I provide.
I'm going to give him that same present, because the dude, if he could just freaking make those, we'd be better off.
I would actually just give him consistency, because I feel like it's all or nothing with him. He either has a really good game or he totally craps the bed and does nothing for your team. And I would just love consistency. Give me average across the board, and I'd feel much better about Frank Kaminsky, rather than this up and down bizarre, we have no clue what you can expect from him.
Yeah, it's funny. The guy went through 4 20-point games out of 6 overall, but his 2 non-20-point games, he had 4 points and 6 points.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, overall, and then just on Friday night against OKC, he was just awful and missed just about everything he took, including layups, and only scored 3 points. So yes, I think Greg's got it. Greg's giving him consistency, and I'm giving him the ability to make a layup.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it. He's this weird combination of Channing Frye and Dragan Bender, and you either get Channing one night and Dragan the next. It makes no sense.
His name is Channing Bender.
Yeah,
see, a lot of guys get it going by making a couple of layups, but the problem is he can't make a layup, so he can't get it going on those nights when he's only scoring 3 points.
Maybe he needs to do what McHale does and try to dunk it rather than lay it up.
He misses those too, man.
Well, I'd rather a missed dunk than a missed layup.
I don't know. We had enough of those with Josh Jackson. Dario Saric, Dave.
Dario Saric. Like I already talked about this earlier. I think he's great. I think he has played really, really well. What I would give him is just a little bit more resolve not to fall into the I got to get my stats for a trade kind of thing. The Suns are in real danger right now, as we talk about it the weekend before Christmas, of all falling apart and looking for the trade deadline, because Dario's on his last year of his contract. He and a couple of other guys on the team might actually start thinking about their next team if the Suns don't watch it. So I would give Dario just a little bit more patience.
I would give Dario a Suns uniform lineup that's all black, because he looks like he should be leading an emo band. Emu, it's a very different band. An emo band with that haircut.
Emus move too fast for him. He wouldn't be able to catch up.
Greg, Aaron Baines.
I would just gift him with unlimited fouls. Because if he didn't have to worry about fouling out, he would be pretty damn amazing. So, and I'd also gift him with one chance to kick Nate Duncan in the nuts as well. So,
yeah, Aaron Baines, I like the unlimited fouls gift. I think that's great. The free pass on fouls.
Make it like Summer League when he plays.
What'd you say?
Make it like Summer League when he plays.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to go with that. I can't think of a better gift for him. I think that's perfect.
You're welcome.
All right, Dave, Ricky Rubio, Ravishing Ricky.
Ravishing Ricky. I would give. Let's see. What would I give Ricky? I would give Ricky a little bit more consistency on his jumper. He was 9 for 11 on Friday night from the field, I think it was, and made both of his 3-pointers, but then he went through a stretch that was just awful. I think, Tim, you were putting the numbers up there on our show sheet. Ricky went through a really bad stretch of shooting threes like a lot of the team, and that has hurt, obviously. But, that's just a minor thing. Ricky's done everything it takes to win games. He made a couple of bad decisions, or one bad decision at the end of the San Antonio game, of losing focus. Actually, it wasn't really a decision; it was a lack of decisiveness. But he's been incredible. So I'd just give him a little bit more luck on his jumper.
I would give him a consistent starting lineup around him. I mean, I imagine. And even he's been out at times, but imagine if he's played with these other four guys on a consistent basis. I think you wind up having a chemistry that develops, and we've seen what he's able to do in terms of passing and understanding where guys are. I think he'd look even more dynamic if there was more consistency in that starting lineup. So I gift him that.
So when I took my girlfriend to see the Suns in Orlando, we were watching the game, and she said that Kelly Oubre is the boy band version of a basketball player. So, Greg, what would you gift Kelly Oubre?
Oh, my instinct is a lot of things. It would get Suns Twitter yelling at me. So I'd get him better Valley Boy designs, I think.
Oh my God! Jesus. Right.
We'll go back to that. No, I think I would just give him consistency on the court, like we were talking about earlier. If he didn't have those mental lapses at times, he would be a truly special player and one that you might be able to look at as a star. So I think if we're being serious, I'd give him that. If we're not, yeah, definitely better Valley Boys merch.
I would give him some dad clothes, data forms for the weekends and stuff. So he's looking a little bit too pretty lately. So give him some cargo shorts and t-shirts.
Like some like a Tim Duncan pair of jeans.
Yes, I give him Tim Duncan energy. That's right.
Well, remember when Tim
jeans.
Duncan? Remember that there was a picture of Tim Duncan shopping in Old Navy, like the year that he won the last championship.
That was when he was shopping for his fancy clothes too. So.
Those were step up. That's right.
Dave, I think this one will be fun. Deandre Ayton.
I would give Deandre Ayton. Let's see. I would give Deandre Ayton more of an offensive design where he's got to be at the rim and in the paint before he catches the ball. That's what I would give him. Less opportunity to make his own decisions and just shoot from mid-range.
I would give him the ability to have been picked number 2 overall by the Suns, because that would change everything.
And honestly, it probably would. Did you guys know that Deandre Ayton, through a whopping 2 games this season, is averaging 5 offensive rebounds a game?
Yes, I can do the math by adding those 2 games together and dividing it by 2. I got it.
Seriously. I mean, that is like there was a point during the game against OKC where it wasn't OKC, it was against the Clippers. Where Deandre Ayton had more offensive rebounds than the entire Clippers team combined.
Early in that third quarter. That's right.
But he sucks. So let's move on to the next gift.
Good. So a guy that definitely doesn't suck, Devin Booker. Greg.
I would give him Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Because I was talking with our friend, Rhett Reese, last evening, friend of the show, and he's like, I don't understand exactly where this team is headed. I can't quite see it. And somehow, eventually, through our chat, we got to maybe we should just give Devin Booker what he really wants and give him those 2 guys because it may be the closest path to winning that this team may have. So maybe I'd gift him those guys.
Just because fans think it'd be fun to see buddies playing together doesn't mean they would be a good basketball team. I don't think those 3 would play enough defense to be a successful basketball team. And you have to spend your entire career as the GM trying to get minimum wage guys to play around them. Yeah, PJ Tucker's PJ before he became PJ. Right. That grows into PJ Tucker because you couldn't even afford today's PJ Tucker after paying those 3 guys. So that'd be tough. What I would give Devin Booker is a clean bill of health. I'd love to stay healthy for longer.
I would give Devin Booker some healthy teammates to play with consistently.
I'd give him I'd give him the ability to avoid Jenners and Kardashians as well. I think that would.
So, did you guys know that? Speaking of health, did you guys know that Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton, out of 110 possible games to have been able to play together, they've only been on the court together for 57 of them?
Yeah, but pull the plug on this whole experiment already, please.
Greg, James Jones.
Oh, what would I give James Jones? I don't know. I would give him the ability to call up his buddy LeBron and get him to play one season for him as a GM, so he can win a ring the way he did as a player, riding LeBron's coattails. So
I would give James Jones the satisfaction that DeAndre Ayton turned into a superstar.
Yes.
Wouldn't that be giving Ryan McDonough a gift?
Yeah, it was Ryan that picked up.
I'm not giving any gifts to Ryan.
Dave, Monty Williams.
Monty Williams. I would give Monty Williams more health on his roster as well, and I would give him a little bit more time too to have passed, so that his consistent messages can be more and more ingrained in the team. I think they're definitely getting punched right now in the mouth, and what happens is your confidence wavers, as Tim said earlier. When you're playing basketball, if you fully believe you're going to win, you play better than if you don't. And I think these guys need more and more proof that they can win games. So I'd give him a little bit more history in his back pocket. But I think Monty's great, and I don't know that there's anything tactically that I would change on what he's done so far.
I would give Monty a motivational speaking tour, because I want that guy to come to my office and get me ready for a day, because I believe in what he's doing. I think he will. Get these guys to play with heart again, and get them to believe in themselves. I think they've got a special coach there with the Suns, and so I'd love to experience what it's like to have a guy like that coach me up.
And last but not least, Robert Sarver. Greg.
I would give him a smartphone so he can read everything on social media that everybody says about him, and maybe much like having the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future visit you, it would rattle something in him to realize it's time for a true change.
What would I give Robert Sarver that I could put on air that I won't be called out for later? I like the smartphone idea. I would also give him. Yeah, that's a good question, because he already got himself a good GM and a coach,
and a new arena, players, and a practice.
Yeah, he's gotten everything he really wants. So I'd give him a gift card to Target.
Robert Sarver, I'm tread lightly here, sometimes doesn't get enough credit for things that he does that are not reported.
I agree. I think
that's true.
That is very true. He is a generous human being. I saw it firsthand. He would do a lot of things for the community that he does not get credit for, and he doesn't necessarily ask for credit for. So as much as you can dislike some of the ways he's run a basketball team, I do not dislike Robert Sarver the man in those ways. He has done a lot for people. So I totally agree on that front, Tim.
And sometimes possibly even asks not to be.
Yep. Yeah. I've experienced that myself.
There is a phrase that I like that we were talking about beforehand, but I think that it is okay to give, and it is okay to volunteer and to be a good human being without taking a selfie while you're doing it. Yep. So shout out to Robert Sarver for that. Closing out the show, Espo. The Duncy Award.
Let's fire up the Duncy Award. All right, this week, we could always give it to our friends over at the Valley of the Suns, but this one actually doesn't go to them. It was based off of something somebody said to their tweet. Originally, Valley of the Suns tweeted, "DeAndre Ayton has been ruled out for tomorrow already. Glad to have the big guy back. Face slap." So one of their loyal readers, Norman Desmond, says, "Those stories local media wrote about how much work Ayton was putting in during his suspension are getting more and more laughable. This is the irony. What in the world? How it doesn't matter how much he worked out during the suspension or the off season. That's not going to prevent an ankle getting turned by stepping on somebody. That is the most asinine take, and kind of encapsulates the Deandre Ayton mentality by fans. So congratulations, Mr. Desmond. You're winning this week's Duncy Award.
Wait, what?
Did you pass out there? Did our elf fall off his shelf?
I got distracted by something in the group chat.
Yeah, no. So Greg gave out the Duncy Award. Good job, Greg.
Dave, I'd like to say thank you for most of your Brightside readers being smarter than that. So
Most.
Yeah.
Let's
can't
not
say
give
all.
everybody a pass. That's
I
right.
have read Brightside before, so I don't qualify as one of those smart people. But some are.
I live by the saying, don't read the comments.
Yeah.
Oh, you kidding? That's where I go first.
Oh God, no.
I always read the comments too.
I know. It's just it's you must have thicker skin than I do. Might be part of it. So before we get out of here, Dave, what are you doing for Christmas?
What am I doing for Christmas? I'm trying to get more people to donate to Brightside Night. Brightside Night is coming on January 7th. I'm going to spend at least 8 minutes talking about this. Brightside Night's coming on January 7th against the Kings. We're still selling tickets, getting tickets donated to kids through the end of this month. And now the Suns have upped the ante. Now that we have filled up the room for the pregame James Jones interview, we've replaced that incentive with something with a slightly lower bar. If you just donate 5 tickets worth of your own money, $45, then you'll get 10 kids sent to the game because the Suns are still matching. They decided to continue matching our donations, and you get into a raffle for a authentic Suns jersey of a player of your choice, one of those 3 of your choice.
Am I eligible for the jersey?
Did you donate? Okay.
No. I'm saying
donations only started December 17th going forward. So if you donate 5 tickets on December 17th or later, you are in the raffle and you're eligible.
Sweet. All right. Tim, to answer your question, what will I be doing for the holiday? I will be trying to jam a bar of soap through my ear to get it to my brain to scrub what you said earlier out of it. So that's what I plan on using my holiday time for.
And you know what? If that contract comes through, you're going to need the bar of soap somewhere else.
No, I will. I will be changing my name and moving far, far away. Tim will not find me. So.
I mean, to be fair, we're talking $10 million.
You'd have to give me 20. You'd have to give me $20 million to even consider letting you fulfill your $10 million contract.
See, that's my favorite thing. Every single person on the planet is a whore. They all just have different price points.
Greg, just take a load off.
Hey! And with that, we're going to leave. If you like a Sun shirt, head to sunshirts.com. There will be no references to what Tim's talked about today, but we might have a Tim Tompkins Elf on a Shelf shirt. Maybe we can make that happen.
By the way, somebody in the group chat saying, where can they donate to send a child, an underprivileged child?
Yes, I didn't even give the link. Thank you very much, folks. Look in the show notes on the YouTube site. Look all over Brightside of the Sun. Brightsideofthesun.com.
He forgot his own website.
Find the link. And then the actual direct link is suns.com/brightside. So there's lots of different places. You can search Twitter for it. You can search net for it, and you can search brightsideofthesun.com. But the direct link is suns.com/brightside.
Anything else, Tim?
No, I thought that was a good ending. I figured that's where you were going to cut it off.
All right. Well, bye, everybody.